Okay, it's recording now. More people. Everyone is joining in the last minutes, as usual. Okay, perfect. Okay, so welcome everyone to our webinar. The recording of this webinar will be shared with all participants after, and we'll send it via email, and also we'll post it on all of our social medias as well. So my name is Anna Simonian, and I'm representing Business and Technical Training College today. BTT College been on the market since 1996, and we've been offering the different unique programs in more than 30 different areas, like business, accounting, IT, medical office, and others. So let me give you a little bit background why we're here and about this new exciting program we're offering. So the name of the program is Virtual Employee Smart Training Program. The reason why we start thinking about this program is because COVID changed everything. The COVID changed our work, life, and work-life balance. And right now, the big question is how businesses can adapt and adjust, not only for the survival mode, but also to success. And the answer is that all of the digital evolution that we experienced in the last year, it's not going to go away. It will stay here with us, right? And it doesn't mean that every single business has to go online and offer everything online. What it means is the businesses have to look for the opportunity to implement any digital solutions to their processes. And the most important component of this process is to how the staff and how employees will be adjusting to it. And that's the reason why we came up with the Virtual Employee Smart Training. And this program will give you the answer for all of the questions, all of the business owners that facing right now, and we have a solution for you. So let me start our presentation by telling you about our exciting speakers today. So the first speaker I want to tell you, it's Valeria. She will start and she will tell you about the Virtual Employee Smart Program. So Valeria, let me just read it through because you have so many things to tell about you. So Valerie Trapunsky, am I pronouncing it correctly? Good. Yes, Valerie Trapunsky is the former A-list personal assistant, is the founder and CEO of Chatterboss, and also the founder and CEO of Chatterboss Recruitment Services. And she is the Forbes New York Business Council member since 2018. Valeria is also entrepreneur and resident in the CUN startups, and she is featured in the entrepreneurs.com elevator pitch. Which is most important, Valeria is our instructor and the professor of the Virtual Employee Smart Training. So Valeria, can you please take over and tell about this exciting project?
Anna, thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be meeting all of you and have an opportunity and to discuss the opportunity of potentially teaching either you or anyone within your organization that you feel would be a good match for this kind of training. So exactly like Anna said, COVID-19 really changed things within the remote and the virtual space. And this is a trend that we have been seeing. So I started my remote executive assistant company 4 years ago. Back then, even though there were virtual assistants and people were starting to get used to outsourcing virtually, it was still something that we had to explain to potential customers. They would say, how can you have a personal assistant virtually? And so there would be a lot of the explanation of, well, somebody virtually can do pretty much anything that an in-person staff is able to do. And so COVID-19 changed the conversation from how can somebody be doing this virtually to assuming the fact that pretty much anything can now be done virtually. So it really sped up that process. But one of the things, because we've always been virtual, my company and my assistants, and it was interesting. Most of my assistants, they're executive assistants by profession. And so they were always working in person, supporting C-suite executives. And that's what they were used to. And they were at the time coming to start working with Chatterbox virtually. It was their first virtual position. So what I learned over the years is how to coach people in entering that remote space, because there are a lot of different nuances, and there's a lot of what we want to cover in the course is the hard skills that you need in order to be able to work successfully virtually, but also the soft skills that you need to work virtually. All of the cues that we are used to getting when we're working with people in real time, in person, they're different when you're working virtually. And so as part of this course, we are going to be going through, like I said, the hard skills, the softwares, there's a plethora of different types of software that you can use to be managing yourself and your teams, and to be supporting the people on your team to be able to communicate better that you just didn't need when you're working in a in-person, face-to-face environment. So we're going to go through through things like that, the software, the security. We're going to dive into project management systems. And then there are things that are two-sided, right? Like time management. On the one hand, it's from a software perspective, but time management, it's just different when you're working virtually. So we're going to have a lesson on that in terms of time management, process creation, and just communication in general. One of the ways that I like to look at it is when you are having when you're meeting someone face to face, and the conversations that you're able to get with them and how much you're able to learn from them, it's one way of communicating, right? Sometimes working virtually is almost like two drivers in different cars communicating to one another, right? And so you're in a different, I'm in my vehicle, you're in your vehicle, and we are in different spaces. And so how do we communicate? Sometimes, so it's those other cues that we have to do, right? We have to turn on our lights, and we have other speed signs and all of that in order to do the communication. And that's part of communicating now virtually, being onboarded virtually, and handing off projects and tasks virtually, which is different from the way that you do it in person. So there is that communication aspect that we'll be speaking about, and the mindset as well. I have noticed from my assistants, some of them transitioning from an in-person environment to a virtual environment. It's tough psychologically. So we want to tackle that as well. What kind of social interactions does that person need? Or what kind of other personal habits do they need to put into place to be able to do their work, and then also to be happy and to be able to thrive in that kind of a virtual environment. And we'll have some wonderful guest speakers as well who will be coming in and talking about, we'll have amazing coaches that come in and talk about on the topic of communications, that will be speaking about the remote tools, the project management. And so I'm very excited for the opportunity, and very excited for the kind of results that we'll be seeing for the students coming out of this program. And if there's any particular questions that I can help answer, I would love to.
Yeah, thank you, Valerie. Thank you so much. And I would like to introduce our next speaker. And I would like to tell that right now, especially this year, it's really important for the businesses and organization to have a support. And the support is available. And we know how difficult it is right now for the companies to find the resources to pay for the training. And that's why we're pleased to invite to our webinar today, Sarah Hipson. He's representing MentorWorks. This is the organization that helps companies and businesses across Canada to find the information about funding available in different provinces as well as the federally. So let me introduce Sarah. Sarah, I'm just gonna read your bio for everyone. So after Sarah Hipson, after graduating with Masters in Forest Conservation is it correct? Conservation from the University of Toronto.
Conservation.
Yeah, good. From the University of Toronto, Sarah moved west to pursue her career in forestry sector. She spent 6 years in Prince George, British Columbia, in multiple roles, from planning and laying logging blocks, managing a $40 million provincial funding program, and overseeing a small SaaS software company. In her role as an executive sales and mentor works, Sarah is excited to help Canadian businesses access fundings and prioritize innovative projects. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the invite. I just wanted to start by, I have a couple slides here that I've pulled together just to give an idea of who we are and what we do, and also to let you know that there are some opportunities that could be available to you to help support some of these training initiatives that you're hoping to undertake in the next couple months. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, can you see a PowerPoint? Yeah? And not my personal email or something? Okay, great. Perfect. So the joys of technology, right? So mentor works. We're based in a team of about 22 to 25 funding specialists throughout the year, depending on demand and how many people we can actually get into organization at a given time. We across the board have about a 95% success rate, and we specialize in about 75 unique programs. Typically, when we're working with clients, this might be not necessarily applicable to today's conversation, but possibly future conversations. Average grant size is about $180,000. Repayable loans, so loan products from the government, about 2.4 million. And over the years, we've done over $1 billion in funding for our clients. So this just gives you a quick snapshot on sort of who we are, what we do. Generally speaking, when we're talking about government funding, things to keep in mind is that using the programs the government has to help you allows you to achieve your goals faster as a business. Right now, obviously, with COVID-19's impact to the economy, resources and cash flow might be an issue for a lot of companies. So accessing the programs that are here make a lot of sense since they do come from your tax dollars anyway. So let's see what we can do. And then the last thing is, it allows you to do things that are on your wish list, but may not quite, help with your direct bottom line. So it, might be something you keep putting onto the corner of your desk. So when we talk about government funding, we like to use funding buckets. So the first one here would be commercialization and expansion. The second one is talent acquisition and employee empowerment, or hiring and training, like we like to refer to it. And I'll probably use that term throughout this presentation. Research and development, and export market expansion. So when we look at challenge 1 here, this is for capital. So if you're looking to expand your business, invest in capital, new equipment, maybe for a manufacturing facility, there's typically funding available for those projects, and would be very interested to have a conversation as a follow-up to this. Today, we're going to focus on challenge 2, which is related to human resources and training. Challenge 3 is, research and development. So if you're an organization that's undertaking regular R&D activities, this would be something that you should be tapping into annually. And I'd be happy to chat with you about it after this conversation. And then finally, export market development and expansion. So scale up, really. If you're in a scale up position for your company, this is really where we see a lot of companies get supported through the government. And I will talk very briefly at the end today about one of the export market development programs that is very widely available. So when we talk about funding, we want to look at timing. So for this particular project, We want about 25 business days in advance of training started so that you can be approved. A lot of government funding programs require an approval before you start the work, so this is important to keep in mind. Project expenses align with what's eligible, and the impacts are going to be appropriate for the funding that you're going to be asking for. These are just some guides from a high level in terms of government funding access, and sort of the things that the government wants to see when you're putting an application forward is, you know, increased revenue growth, export growth, job creation, retention. All these things here are really important and are, you know, prime examples of why the government will invest in your company, because their ROI is economic development. Okay. So this is just a high level of those buckets again. So hiring and training, like I mentioned, the first thing I want to mention in the hiring or the hiring and training section is hiring grants. So this is also separate, but it's really important for you to be aware that the government not only funds training initiatives, but they also support bringing on young talent into your team. So interns or co-op students are a very highly funded area for the government. And right now, most of the programs that we're looking at for January start dates, as well as retroactive to this current term for students, funded about 75% up to $7,500 per candidate. So there's obviously some nuanced eligibility criteria, but it's very widely available for Canadian businesses. This is federal, so it's across the entire country. If you want to talk about this, let's connect after and I can let you know what might be available for you. The second category is recent graduates. So typically 0 to 2, in some cases 0 to 3 years post-graduation for secondary grads. They typically can access funding at about 50% up to $15K per candidate for the first 6 months of their employment. So definitely worth looking into, especially with, you know, our tight resources right now. And I can talk offline afterwards if anyone's interested in learning more. So we're going to get into the area today where, you know, Anna's team sort of comes to the table, and we're talking about this program that they're going to be rolling out through their college. So the Canada-Ontario Job Grant, this program has actually been around for a number of years, and we are coming to probably sort of the last 6 to 12 months of this program. So it's pretty great that we've actually connected right now, because it's a really good time for you to access that funding as the pot starts to dwindle, but at the same time, you guys want to get in now rather than later. So Ontario Job Grant, this is specific to Ontario. I will speak to Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan after this. So if you're outside of those areas, don't think I forgot about you. So this program offers companies in Canada. So it's not just companies. When I talk about companies for these programs, not-for-profits are eligible, LLPs are eligible, and Canadian businesses. Any company that has more than 100 employees, they'll be eligible for up to 50% of their third-party training costs. So basically, if you're looking to send a group of your employees to some training for this program that the college is putting on, you would be looking at 50% of that invoice to be reimbursed. If you're a small employer and you're under 100 employees, then you'd be looking at up to 83% of that coming back to you. So it really is quite an attractive program. This is a grant. It's sort of a reimbursement model. You must engage, you must have, you know, a legitimate training partner, which BTT College fits squarely within that. And, you know, you should be enrolling maybe a group of 5 to 10 or more employees into this program to make it really worth your while to see that return. And then the focus on who can be trained here. So, You can't train anyone who's not on your payroll. If you're not paying CPP and EI for them, then technically they cannot be included in this application. They must be residents of Ontario and Canadian citizens or permanent residents as a minimum. So unfortunately, that is something that is consistent across hiring grids as well. International visas aren't going to cut it in this case, unfortunately. Okay. So, and one of the other pieces to the puzzle is, you know, we've had an issue in the past where some majority stakeholders in the business or shareholders in the business, I apologize, have to be removed from these. And it's just a matter of nuances, and the government wants to make sure that the money is going to train employees versus owners of businesses, because we're already getting money back. Must be third party again. So in this case, perfectly fits. Textbooks, any material related to training, tuition, any kind of student fee, all of these things are eligible. Wages are not. This is not a payroll support program. It will only cover the third-party costs to your company. So again, this program is widely available, typically for soft skills development, but technical skills as well are eligible for this program. Things like ERP implementation don't quite meet the cut under this program, just to be very clear. We've seen this program sort of change over the years, and it's become a lot more competitive and sort of restrictive in terms of what kind of funding they will support. But the way that we operate with these programs is we make sure to vet all of these applications with the service providers in advance to make sure that A, there's funding available, and B, they have an appetite to support this training endeavor. We need about 25 business days in advance of training starting to get you approved and sorted. With the holidays, it's going to be a little bit maybe tighter than that, I would say, just because of vacations and things like that. So we want to make sure we're giving adequate time to make sure the application gets in and approved before you start your training. Let's see. And we must start before March 31st. So at this point, so this should say March 31st, 2021, I apologize. But at this point, we're not quite sure what the future of this program is going to look like. So a lot of the local service providers are requiring that your training dates start before March 31st. The government fiscal year sort of ends March 31st and starts again in April of the following year. So we want to make sure that we're aligning with their funding year and making sure that they have that money available for you moving forward. Okay. So there is another stream under the Ontario version of this program, and it's called a Consortium stream. You may have heard of it. Basically, it just allows a group of employers to come together and offer the same training. This isn't quite the same situation for this program in particular, but if you're doing other initiatives that, you know, fit into this program, you can partner up with another company and bring in a training vendor. It could be BTT, and have them train your group of employees together and have that application done in a separate way. Consortium stream funds at 50%, regardless of the size of the company. Okay. Now, I just used acronyms here because it could get pretty long, but this is the page for the Canada, Alberta, Canada, Manitoba, and Canada, Saskatchewan job grants. These three programs are quite similar. I didn't break it out into individual pages because very much overlapping information here, aside from the percentage. These range from 60 to 66%, depending on which province you're in. I believe Alberta, or I'd have to double check, but one of them 60 and 166. So really, we can follow up with that later. Max per company is $100,000, and we can continually intake this program until the funding is exhausted. That's the same as the Ontario one. We continually intake applications, keep sending them in until there's no more funding left. Again, for Manitoba in particular, I know there's a few people from Manitoba here on the call today. This is a great program. It's quite straightforward. This program in particular does allow you to do some ERP training if that's something in the future that you're interested in doing. This might be another program that's worth exploring for you. And yeah, and it will work definitely for this program, as you know, this program is squarely fit within the training eligibility under the program here. Okay. Again, you know, the people that you're training, your employees must be residents of the province in question. So wherever your business is based, those people need to reside there. Unfortunately, if you do have a remote workforce, it's going to get a little bit more complicated if they're outside of that province. Okay. Now, they must also, again, be Canadian citizens or permanent residents, and both existing and potential employees. So if you're considering, this is unique to this program, if you're considering bringing on somebody who's currently unemployed or underemployed, this would be a great way for you to help to train them, to get them to a place where you are ready to introduce them to your workforce. So if they're currently unemployed, they can continue to train with your team. And then at the completion of training, you're welcome to offer them employment, and they can be included in the grantable portion of the reimbursement. Okay. Again, we need to get approval before the training can start. So that's really important. And it must not exceed, and this is for all the programs, must not exceed 12 months. Okay. So this is another training program that's not specific to necessarily this program, but for any of the manufacturers in the room, this is Ontario only, but it is specific to manufacturing companies who are looking to do productivity improvement training on their shop floor, between 25 and 50% grantable portion up to $100,000. This one does cover payroll. So if you are a manufacturer and you're looking to do some productivity training or cross training or new equipment training, this is a great way for you to offset some of those costs, as well as to cover the salaries of the trainees while they're being trained. Okay. And finally, the export development program we had talked about. So this is the Can Export program, widely available to Canadian companies, not really any, aside from the eligibility criteria here on the bottom, you can see this program doesn't have any prescriptive eligibility requirements based on industries. Essentially, if you're under 500 employees on payroll and you do less than between 100,000 and 100 million in revenue annually, this is going to be a great fit for you. So this program helps you to develop new export markets. So anywhere where you're currently doing less than 10% of your total sales in export revenue would be an eligible geographical market for you to target through this program. Traditionally, this program was for trade shows and business travel, but right now they've pivoted to allow for digital marketing as an eligible expense item under the program. The program advertises 75% to a max of $75,000 in funding to support these initiatives, and would be very happy to speak with anyone after this call for both the job grant and or the Can Export, as well as exploring any further opportunities that might be available. This program right now is typically a continuous intake program, but they did introduce a December 15th, which is today, deadline for anything happening before April 1st, 2021. Again, that just aligns with the government fiscal years. And so anybody who wants to look at these marketing pushes in export markets for April 1st and beyond, this would be a great opportunity for you to do so. Okay. Sarah, my contact information's here. Anna will be sharing it in the follow-up email. Very open to having conversations with anyone that's interested in government funding, and especially if you want to work with Anna and her team at the college to take part in this VE Smart training for employees. I think that this program in particular is very top of mind for a lot of businesses. I know myself, I'm working from home. You may have heard my dog scratching at the door trying to get in. There's just all sorts of things that we have not had in our work environment that now we're having to deal with and introduce. And I think for myself included, this training program makes a lot of sense. And if you're a business owner trying to find the resources to fund that, it's not that difficult if you have the right help to point you in that direction. So happy to help. Just need to let me know you're interested. Okay. Anna, back to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. You cannot imagine, it's all of the businesses across Canada. We all know that the funding, it's somewhere, right? It's available, but it's it's too much information to handle and to understand all of the requirements and how to proceed. And specifically, it's different province by province, and then there are other funding, it's federally available. So it's a lot of information for the business owners and it's extremely confusing. We really need your help and support to get as an expert in the field to guide us through this process. Thank you so much, Sarah, for the information today.
My pleasure.
I think it was a great webinar, as Sarah mentioned, and that we will be sending the follow-up email. So all of the contact information for Sarah and MentorWorks will be available, and we'll send you the recording of the webinar as well. And thank you, Valerie. I haven't received any questions so far. I think we're just going to give everyone a few minutes. If they do have some questions, send them on a chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask the questions as well.
Hi, I have a question
Sure.
for Sarah, please. Yes, Sarah, my business is located in Quebec, and I know that you've mentioned Ontario, Alberta, Manitoba. Do you have any programs right now available for the Quebec province?
Great question. So Quebec in particular has a different approach to how they manage their funding programs. There is a program in Quebec, and what I can do is I will forward you a link to that program after the call. I'll ask Anna to provide me with your email, or you can email me directly, and I will provide you with that information. Unfortunately, although we do have French capacity in-house, we don't write in French because there's a lot of great resources in Quebec for you to be supported, and it's just not our primary language. But federal programs would be more than happy to support you guys on. In terms of the training grant in Quebec, I can provide more resources.
Perfect, thank you. I got your contacts and I'll reach out to you.
Fantastic. And how do you pronounce your name, just so I'm clear?
Raquel.
Raquel, okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Thank you.
Do we have more questions? I received a question in the chat box that one of the person, she's from Manitoba, but Sarah did mention that the program is available in Manitoba. We'll definitely send a follow-up email and provide all of the links and information and Sarah contact information as well. So you will be able to chat specifically for your business and your province after the webinar.
Mm-hmm. And if you want, if anyone wants to, they're welcome to look at our website. We have a very active website with a ton of information about programs. So definitely I'd advise that, I have Alina, my colleague from marketing, on here today. They work very hard to make sure that we are communicating and educating our clients and, the public in general about what's out there. So I would definitely encourage you to check out our website and look at some of the resources we have there, and also reach out if you want to talk in more detail.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. And thank you, Valeria, that for yourself or your staff who's going to register for the training, they will see Valeria at the class. Yeah, thank you, Valeria.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Anna.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thank you.